Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is Back Issue Classics, episode 78 for Back Issue Classics. I'm, of course, TF2 and Mike. And returning once again, ComicRevolt Dan. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am well. Well, as well as I can be expected to be, I guess. But anyway, that's that old saying. I could bitch and complain, but there's no point.
I don't know. Is that a saying or is that just a thing that people say?
I don't know. Life gives you lemons, and yeah, sometimes we complain about the lemons.
I'd rather have oranges because they're better. So.
Yeah, that's true. They're not as sour. Oh, now we're getting into grape territory. Oh, God. Okay, so we're back to do our final, for now, episode for I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics because the second arc is coming to a close in issue 10, so we're going to talk about issue 9 and 10 this time around. And I was not expecting, we kind of knew that Scotty was going to take a break after the second arc because that was kind of what he almost did with the first arc, and then he came back to it, but I was not expecting what we get out of these two issues at all.
No, the second arc has been interesting because the first arc had a pretty, normal progression. Like the story, there was a story from beginning to end. You kind of felt the flow of it. I was surprised. I didn't even realize we were even coming up to the end of this arc until the last issue of issue 10, and there's the note in the back end saying, as you know, this is the end of volume 2, and I just didn't realize that because this is the second arc series, or the second volume, has been much more episodic and much nothing's really carried over from issue to issue all that much.
Yeah.
And which is unusual for an Image comic, but because of that, it just kind of snuck up on me. It's oh wow, we're already to issue 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that note that you had mentioned in the back of issue 10, which we'll kind of talk about at the end of this, but he says something about he's kind of planning the next arc, the next 10 issues or so, or
yeah.
Which if the next, I don't know, we'll talk about it at the end. But anyway, number 9, the main cover, because I did not look up the he does censored and uncensored covers, folks. The main cover, which is the title of the series, is called I Hate Fairyland, but he does uncensored covers at times where it's Fuck Fairyland. I have not seen what that is, but the main cover for issue 9 is basically Gert exploding out of the hat of holding with an axe. This issue had a very Alice in Wonderland feel to me after a certain point.
Yeah, I could see that. I was also thinking Harry Potter in another comic series that was just kind of reminded me of. It's one from Valiant, Archer and Armstrong, and they just had a relaunch, and their first series was kind of a similar story where he has this satchel that is kind of bottomless that they travel into. And that's where I was kind of thinking of that the entire time watching this. It's a trope within fantasy, the idea of having this bag with endless wonders and eventually traveling into it. But it kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was thinking that you would kind of pick up some of what happened last issue with the video game aspect and the kid being left behind after she loses the tournament, but we get right into a new story, and it's kind of all forgotten. So I was waiting for that to kind of come back around, and it really didn't, which is fine. I mean, it could eventually, but was interesting.
Yeah, and we start this one out where Gert is at some castle playing a game of cards, which I assume it's close to poker, but it's Fairyland poker, and we've got Knight's Bones and Queen Bombs and King's Power Rods, and oh my god. And it gets worse and worse as they go along trying to one-up each other. How about this dirty huntsman right up your sass? Oh my god. And then the piece de resistance, the one that, oh no, it's a two trolls, one bridge. Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah. So, some of the jokes didn't land as hard for me this time around, like that one, for instance, didn't. But I mean, the visual humor is there, but some of the puns, I guess, weren't as.
Well, the visual humor with the guy that's like, say it. Again, I read these on Comixology's guided view, so I get panel by panel what's going on here, and it's just a nice up close of his face with him, saying what he's saying. Just say it. I got the two trolls, one bridge thing only because I've seen that stupid video a few times in the last, not recently, but, when the original Two Girls, One Cup thing came out and whatever else. And, of course, having read Sex Criminals over there at, Sex Criminals is Image. I couldn't remember. Yeah, I mean, I know who does it. I couldn't remember if it was Image or something else. But having read Sex Criminals, one of their trades is two something and one cop. So that joke, it doesn't really land for me, but I immediately recognize it when I see it, and
yeah.
Is it just me, or does the purplish blue snake kind of look like Kaa from the Jungle Book?
A little bit, yeah. He's got that, like, if Kaa was a little bit more, I don't know, swarmy, maybe? I guess he's not as cunning. He's a little bit more blunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we go through here, she's going to get him a castrophone, and they think they're extinct, and this is where the Hat of Holding comes in, and this is just hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like I like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like, in a way, though, this is where you can kind of tell, like, this wasn't as planned from the beginning as much as the other stories, because I feel like this, like, his hat, like the aspect of going into the hat or using it, like, that could have been built up a little bit more in previous issues to make it, like, this overall story a little bit stronger, because it does feel like it kind of comes out of nowhere a little bit. But I mean, that's kind of this book as a whole, really, where it's on a lot of it is just kind of whatever happens. But that was my only, like, little gripe with this one, which is maybe why. I mean, I've loved the series so far, and I still think it's a good issue. But, like, little things here and there, I think are starting to show.
I think in this story arc, like you're saying, if they had done something with the hat from issue 5 to now, like if Larry kept saying if he basically kept pulling a Star Wars, I've got a bad feeling about, just keep doing something to where the hat is mentioned, or so subconsciously we as the readers kind of know that it's going to be building up to something. You're right. It just kind of does. She basically brings it up out of nowhere, saying that she has this one thing that is the one thing that will let them go and let them out of the debt from losing the game.
Yeah.
I love Larry's expression. Something's not right in there. I just love that. So Gert has a time limit, and she pops into the hat, and it's pretty dark in there.
Yeah, I was waiting for, like, the the reference to Bill and Ted when they're going to hell, and they're like, it takes forever for them to get there.
Yeah,
kind of the similar feeling I had as she was stuck in the dark for overly a long time, but turning on the lights and seeing, a message written in blood, just like, wow, he knows right away. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look at some of these, and we've talked about this before, where Scotty has placed the titles of the stories. Because, okay, folks, any comic series, it doesn't matter what company it's with, at some point they put the creative in there. I mean, obviously with Scotty and Image, they have it at the very beginning that they list the creators, but at some point you're going to get a story title, and at some point in this series it's going to be in the weirdest, coolest, strangest, whatever positive, negative, in-between place you can think of, and why not Splat in the Hat? I mean, you know.
I do. I mean, I love it. Like, it does. It's really, it's very clever. Like, that's probably, you know, because it's a great, like, opening title sequence. It kind of comes out of nowhere. It works. It fits. So it's clever. I do enjoy that a great deal, especially as I'm pretty sure, like, this entire setting is a big homage to the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark with, you know, how they put in the Ark in this abandoned kind of insane factory, and with this we get a few pages of this gigantic, you know, what looks like a storage unit with just some crazy, like, you can stare at these 2 pages quite a long time looking at all the little Easter eggs and little jokes that he packs in, which is pretty funny. Like, I think there's like even like a Noah's Ark, you know, a Viking ship.
There is
different, and some callbacks to some of the old previous issues, which is cool to see. So I did really like what he did here.
Yeah, when I see the giant page with Splat in the Hat on it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to kind of be like an Inside Out thing where they have to go looking for something. You know what I mean? Because that's what was part of Inside Out. They had to go, you know, they had to go on some journey. I don't know. I'll get into that later in another show. And basically, Gert says that it's been a long time since she had been in here, and, you know, somebody tells her, "You're gonna die." So she, like Gert always does, she picks up a sword and tries to kill the little midget.
I think he's a dwarf or an elf.
An elf. Well, she says he's a hat gnome. Okay, so gnome.
No, I guess. Get there, but.
It's Gnomageddon.
Well, that's one they didn't use. They can use that for next time.
And, you know, basically the villains of this issue, the Lints. Hat Lint is the villain of the issue. Oh my god. This is so hilarious. And we jump outside of the Hat to have Larry and all these other people have some sort of party, and Larry has to choose between a piece, you know, which piece of pizza he wants, and let's just take one of each. And this reminds me, and I know this is going to be sad to say considering how dark this series can kind of get at times, this whole scene with them around the table and the timer and the pizzas almost reminds me of the stupid Legendary Figures meeting in Santa Claus 2.
That's a pull. I have not seen that, so I really can't tell. But it's, yeah. I mean, you do gotta love Larry. He's always good there. He's always available for a good joke.
Oh yeah.
And it does like. Scotty Young is really good with his series where you think he's going to kind of build up the tension, or he's going to, like, something serious is going to happen, and then he undercuts it with a good joke, and that seems to be the consistent here, and he does it as, like, you know, you think it's going to be them talking about time running out, but, like, nope, they're just talking about ordering pizza. So it's again him showing he's never taking this too seriously, which is, I think, part of the fun.
And we now meet everybody that Gert has kidnapped over the last 8 issues. Which, again, part of the story should have been us seeing what they were throwing in the hat. Like, I don't remember. Maybe I have to go back and listen to our other episodes that we've done for the series, but I don't remember her throwing a grumpy Frosty the Snowman and what looks like to be Jack the Ripper in a red hat and coat. Like, I don't remember any of these people being thrown into this hat.
No, yeah, again, that's like a lot of these people we're meeting for the first time, and obviously she's had Gertrude has had experiences with them in her past because she's been in this fairyland forever. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it's not really a retcon in the situation, but it's just one where, like, I think this is a good story, but it would have been a little bit more effective if these were people that we can either reference some of the old, or this was somehow alluded to in previous issues. And it's still funny, but it just again, it feels like it's. Yeah,
I mean, the story is funny. The jokes are funny. The jokes work for me. It's just that we've never, again, like we said, there was no previous setup to this whole adventure inside the Hat of Holding, and because of that, as you said, we're just meeting these characters for the first time, and which partially meeting Shirley Curley for the first time kind of makes sense, because we wouldn't have had, if we knew about her beforehand, Gert probably wouldn't have had the same reaction as she does when, you know.
Yeah, I do like how they paid that off though. Like, that was well done. It's like, I'm like, oh, because I actually kind of was thinking that. I'm like, oh wow, are they going to build her up and she's going to get out of the hat and she's going to be the new antagonist moving forward? And it's like, nope, she's dead. So,
Yep, deader than a doornail. And apparently they've got another queen problem, and you know, are you there? Can you hear me? And of course, Larry's drunk in the arms of an octopus.
Man, one of the creepiest looking looks I think I've seen in a comic. Just his like bloodshot eyes and his like 1,000-yard stare. It's just like, wow, that's something just gross about that in the best of ways.
Especially the close-up shot in the guided view on Comixology where the octopus says, "Did you hear something, Sugar?" Nope. He's just so cuddled into her, and she's got her tentacles all around him. Oh my God, that's just so out there, but interesting. And I love in that one panel where they zoom out to see the whole room. The snake is up on the chandelier. I just love that. So back in Fairyland, Gert is trying to destroy this big giant queen-looking thing, and turns out to be Duncan Dragon, or no, he comes in later. That's later. So they kill this giant thing, and with the help of the catastrophone or whatever it's called, and yeah.
We got to mention. Well, I love the aliens reference. Obviously, she's in, this suit that's very much like aliens. With Sigourney, with Ripley, and very much similar type of dialogue. So, gotta love a good aliens reference. And then, like you mentioned, he ends up getting killed by this fluffy looking creature, which seems like innocent enough, but clearly is not. Again, reminding me of something like Futurama with Nibbler, in same situation. Small creature ends up being the most dangerous thing alive. So,
yeah, and I love her line right before we meet the new creature. Not sure I'll ever sleep again after seeing that. I have a hard enough time sleeping now, let alone seeing something like this in real life.
Yeah.
So the catastrophone is met, and he kind of meows, and we go back to the castle place or whatever, and all this blood comes out of the windows. And the first thing I noticed in this panel is, oh my God, the moon is alive. He's angry, but he's alive. Because again, Scotty has pretty much gone away with the narrator characters.
Yeah,
I do kind of miss them, but I understand why he's not using them now.
Yeah. Again, I think it goes back to the fact that these are more one-off stories a little bit. At first, I was somewhat confused with this panel, because you see, obviously like the amount of blood squirting out from the castle, and a head plopped down. And at first, I thought it was the head of the creature they were going after. But then I realized, no, it's actually the snake. It took me a second to kind of figure that out. So I was confused at first, but then I realized, oh, I see what's going on here. So.
And then I love the last line in this. Torture, huh? Do dark wizards often use lavender vanilla massage oil while torturing their quote-unquote victims? Like I said, they're twisted. Issue 9, like we've been saying, it's kind of... It's not a bad issue at all. I enjoyed it, but again, pointing out the whole thing with the adventure in the hat, how it wasn't kind of led up to, like it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't built up to earlier. Issue 9 really feels like a one-off issue. It feels like nothing that has happened in the last 8 issues really matters at this point. Like it was kind of like, one Saturday night they decided to go to a card game, kind of thing. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind one-off issues. I think they're fine. My issue with it when it comes to it is that the way it's written in a way feels like it's under the impression like we should have somewhat of an attachment or knowledge of this hatch situation or some of the characters involved, because Gertrude does. So as a reader, kind of reading it through her lens, it doesn't work as well because we don't have that. So I think that's kind of where the conflict lies. So if it didn't have that and it was more of a straight adventure or some of the past issues, that wouldn't be fine. But it does seem like it is leading towards something based on the ending of it. So does seem like there's going to be some carryover, at least to issue 10.
Yeah. Issue 9, as always, love the art. Scotty does amazing artwork, and all of his team with the letters and the art direction and all that, just absolutely amazing. What would you give issue 9, 0 to 5?
For me, it's a 3.5, which is still solid. It's just not as not as good as some of the previous issues. I'd say it's probably the weakest issue of the series so far. But again, still good. It's just not up to par with what has come before.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. Like I said, there are certain story elements that just... Like I said, I understand why he didn't mention the hat earlier. I mean, we've known Harry. We've known Larry has had this hat, but we've never really learned about anything about it. Like if it's a special hat, if it makes him come to life and say happy birthday or whatever, we've just never really known anything about it. And now they decide, Scotty decides to do a whole issue on it, and it, like you said, it kind of needed some sort of narration from somebody. Issue 10, we start this one off. The regular cover is interesting. It's Gert on a mushroom kind of island space thing. I don't know where she is. I like the cover for issue 10. And we start this one off by her saying she's going to really, really, really pay attention this time. And, yeah.
So this is kind of, because I read issues 9 and 10 back to back. So I was like, at first I thought I missed an issue because the way this one starts, because, the last one ends with the cliffhanger of, the creature killing all like everyone that was left. And then this starts up and... I wasn't sure what was going on at first. I'm like, did I miss something? That's why I was kind of stuck in between. I mean, it eventually gets there, but just to start off, I'm like, I feel like I'm a little bit confused of where we're at. But
yeah, I was too.
It fills you in within the next few pages.
Yeah. I like the new guy here. How do you deal with this? And Larry's response. I just love Larry. I almost think Larry needs a whole issue just by himself.
I'd love to see his story end somehow happy. With he can enjoy life again. I don't know if he'd know how to, but yeah, he definitely is a very sympathetic character through all this.
Absolutely. So this gatekeeper, door guarder, or whatever he's supposed to be, because we don't really know what he is at this point, and he's basically telling her about a choice about going into the light or going into the dark, and making that choice, and we then flash forward a number of years. And, Fairyland is not doing so well in the future.
No, it's being kind of destroyed by insane... looks like Lilo and Stitch if it was created by Rita from Power Rangers. So, it's kind of the way I would describe it.
Oh, boy. I don't think they could have Finster on their on their payroll. What I found interesting about this, is... the monster is Duncan Dragon. I'm like, oh my god! All right, they drove him to the point where he decides to take over, and because this is the future, they have to fully change Gert's look to make her look very punk.
Yeah, I was thinking like definitely very Mad Max-esque with the eye and the mohawk, very much in that line. Part of me thinks Cable reference with the glowing eye but I don't know if that's purposeful or not.
Well, she does have an X on her forehead, so
it's possible.
it's possible. Yeah. And didn't Scotty work for Marvel? Well, he works for Marvel.
He works for Marvel. He does a lot. He does a lot of cover work. He did Rocket. I don't know if he's writing anything currently. He might be writing Rocket and Groot. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's done a lot of work for Marvel.
Yep. And we see a very, very old and wise Larry. That guy.
I didn't realize it was him at first. That was like his grandmother.
No, I knew that was him. Just because, just the way he looks and just the way he talks. I knew that was Larry.
I just assumed he didn't age like with Gertrude, but I guess he does. So I was surprised by that.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Larry tells her that she has to transfer the soul's either core to a plane made manifest from the primitive Eye of Oregon, and then, me and the wizards will try killing Drunken Dragon. And I love Larry at the end. We're fluffed. So you see these panels with the wizards trying to contain and destroy Duncan and get him under control. And again, the artwork is amazing. I love Scotty's artwork in this series.
Yeah, like he kind of like it's this, especially the color work here in the inking is really strong. Some really clean lines. This gigantic monster. It's laid out really well in like a two page splash page, and it's great use of scale. Color really pops off the page like it does for this series altogether. So great. Like you kind of I think Scotty's really showing his range here without going too far out of the box for the series, because it just seems a little bit more. Not as like cartoonish, but still within the same, not out of tone with the rest of the book.
Yeah, well, if you look at the one where, the full-on splash page of Fairyland will be no more, and it's got the whole thing in the sky with the beam coming down to Fairyland.
Yeah.
You've got the purplish, reddish, orangish sky. You've got the purplish, bluish thing of Duncan because he's got purple wings. You've got him coming with this giant blast, which looks like something that come out of the Death Star.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Fairyland is Alderaan in this.
Or maybe the Jedi planet in
Coruscant.
Rogue One, because it's just a city that blows up, not the entire planet. So
yeah, that's true. And basically Gert's saying this is all her fault, and she had paid attention, and Larry's like, that's it. You can go back in time. So he sends her back in time.
Which makes me think it's a Cable, like that eye is purposely a Cable reference, since Cable was noted.
Oh, absolutely.
Going back in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So she poofs back in time, and we have a few full-on white panels here, and then...
I wonder if Scotty's like, you know what, I just want to see if I can get away with not having to make 2 or 3 pages. I'll just say they're, as you do reading this digitally, I'm like, is something wrong?
Yeah.
Did I miss something? But eventually, the words pop up on the page. So.
Mm-hmm. And we go back to the point where we were before with the guy in our version of Gertrude and our version of Larry, and the guy's saying, "Oh, just make a choice," and I'll go, "No, stop." I love the stop panel. Okay, so between the 2 panels where she says, all right, I think I'll go, that panel is really, really nice because it's basically her face palming and Larry is just sucking on his cigarette with his eyes closed or cigar or whatever he's smoking. And then the next panel is the stop, and it's the big blinding light and just the whole color change of her basically it almost turns her hair into just curls by itself with the way he's got the color and the effect of the camera lighting on her face. It looks like her hair is not all on her head, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's like a photo negative.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And Gertrude from the future shows up, and the time guy is like, fluff my life.
It's a good drinking game every time you read this to take a shot every time that saying is used.
Yeah.
But of course, the great use of someone from the future coming back to the past to try that. And I do like how being Scotty Young, being this comic, and being Gertrude, she just addresses it like right away, and then Larry's just of course just crazy and sad that the fact that now he's dealing with two of them, which is probably his worst nightmare, which is awesome.
Yep. And Cable Gert has to basically explain everything, and she hopes that our Gert kind of gets it. And the way they do this is really fun and interesting, where she says, okay, first you must, and then we go through this whole thing, all this stuff up on the, it basically looks like a detective's crime scene board trying to figure out who murdered, which person in which room with which weapon, and it wasn't Mr. Body.
Yeah.
It really feels like a very Clue kind of thing in this panel. And she asks her, did you get all that? And she says, yeah, every last word. You're positive? Even the part with the loopy sips? Especially the loopy sips. And she didn't get a single word. Nope.
No, of course not.
And, the whole time paradox thing, and you're going to disappear. Yep. And Apocalypse Gert or Cable Gert or whatever you want to call her, she disappears, and I think I picked the wrong way, and that I wouldn't even say this ends on a cliffhanger. Basically, and Scotty even says this in his letter at the end of the series, or at the end of this arc here. Gert saw the future. We went to future, and she kind of saw what was coming and went back and made sure that wasn't what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of different directions you can go with this. I mean, you can end it here, and I think that would be fine. I mean, obviously, I want it to continue because I like the book.
Yeah.
But it, it's interesting because, like I said, it's this in a way it's less out of nowhere than the last issue because there's a little bit of build up, but I was just surprised for it to kind of just end where it did, and then it's like, well, I wonder Scotty Young, I think it just kind of put him in a spot where he has multiple options. Simon could write it where you can put you in a spot where you can end a story, you could go different directions with it, and neither would be satisfying, which is solid.
Absolutely, it is very, very solid. It's one of those things where the whole second arc has been solid, I think, where you have all of these things coming together. You have their adventures and all of that, and yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that that just kind of comes together all at once in this great kind of crescendo ending, even though he says in the letter that there is no cliffhanger, but I mean, I still think there kind of is, because we don't know yet. Like, okay, we know that she chose in the beginning of issue 10, she, to quote the old knight in Last Crusade, she chose poorly, and we saw that option, and then she goes back and goes to fix it, but we don't see yet what that fix is going to be.
Yeah, and it could be worse. It could be Back to the Future 1985 bad,
That shark still looks fake.
So it's like I said, I agree with you. I think it is somewhat of a cliffhanger because it doesn't answer there's a question there that can be answered. So it's not necessarily like, oh, is she dead, or the world's going to end, or, you know, who really did it, type of who shot Mr. Burns. But there's at least, like, he's leaving him, like I said, he's leaving him space to answer some questions, but maybe not necessarily the traditional way.
Yeah. Oh, you reference who shot Mr. Burns. The first thing I thought of was who shot JR.
Actually, I go Simpsons over Dallas, but
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate the original, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they had two different who shot JR stories, but yeah. I Hate Fairyland, folks. It's been an amazing blast talking about this series with Dan, and just absolutely love reading this series. If I was making my favorite comic list or my most read comic list for the last 2 or 3 years, this would definitely hit the top 10. Because this series is just so fun, funny, interesting. It, gets you to look at various issues with these characters. When we started this, I thought it was just going to be nothing but jokes all the way through. It's going to be, Gert being this one side of her personality and not evolving, but he really does evolve her character. He doesn't, I don't want to, again, if he ever listens to this, Scotty, I'm not saying this is a negative thing, but you can correct me. Larry evolves, but he doesn't. I mean, you look at Larry in issue 1, he's still as depressed as ever in issue 10.
Yeah. I mean, he's still, until he kind of gets away from Gert, I think he's kind of limited. He's maybe warming up to her a little bit more reluctantly, but yeah, his existence doesn't really have many avenues to go down.
No, not at all. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here in the Pullbag Back Issue Classics 78. What do you guys got going on over there at Talking in Circles and Cinema Geeks?
Do you want to do ratings for
I thought we did those already. Issue 10, what do you give it?
I'm struggling between 3.5 and 4. I do think it's stronger than the last issue, but I don't think I'm not keen on it enough to go 4. Like, I feel like this arc started off a lot stronger, and it's ending not as strong as it started. But so I'd go 3.5. I still liked it, but it wasn't as crisp as it has been. So 3.5 for me.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I would only, if I was gonna give it a 4, the only reason why is because I kind of need to know what's gonna happen next, and obviously we'll find that out eventually. But yeah, I agree. 3.5, it works. And it, gave it somewhat of a nice, interesting ending. So yeah, 3.5 for me as well. Okay, so what do you got coming up?
For Talking in Circles, we have, we just released, or we did Rogue One breakdown, and then we recently just kind of talked about stuff we're looking forward to in 2017, movie, comic, TV, all that. And also reviewed kind of all the big things that happened around the Super Bowl, including the game and some of the big trailers that dropped coming out, including the Iron Fist trailer that just recently came out. And for Cinema Geeks, finishing up 2017 stuff and beginning again our video game series, as we just did Alone in the Dark the other day. That episode should be coming out soon, and we'll be continuing our Hayao Miyazaki. We have Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away coming out very shortly as well. So
awesome. Coming up here on the Pullbag, we've got next week will be episode 138, where Adas Baron joins me for one final time for now for He-Man: The Eternity War, issues 14 and 15, which is the series finale for that series from DC Comics. And then coming up March 1st, Dan will be back with me in episode 139 of the Bull Bag, where we are going to be talking about Hadrian's Wall, issues number 1 and 2. This is another series from Image, done by Kyle Higgins, Alex Siegel, and Rod Reese. And that's going to be epic, because I love those three guys. Those guys can do no wrong in my mind when it comes to comics, because I just love their work. So that's what's going on here inside the Pullbag. Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Hi, I'm Jesse Rass, and you've jumped inside the vast comic book world of the Pullbag. only on the Geekcast Radio Network.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at GeekcastRadio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.